All right, and we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about in our live stream. We're looking at a big update in the blockchain space that is a huge leap forward for Web 3.0 adoption. We're going to look at some other crazy things that have happened. We got some hackers that have been brought to justice in the blockchain space who've stolen a lot of money. We're going to check out the crypto markets, answer some of your questions, and a whole lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step-by-step start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so let's see here. We've got people jumping in the chat here. We got Culture Hives, Technically. We got Charles, Automatic Beats, Brent, Cryptechology, Venture Warrior, Alden, Tebo, Eros, Francis, ENIAC. Welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this. So let's talk about a big development that's happening in the blockchain space that's going to, in my opinion, be a huge step forward for all of Web 3.0 adoption because of some of the key players involved. Okay, so let me just pull this up on my screen here. Sorry, I lost the story here. All right, here we go. So, Stripe is expanding global payouts in USDC with crypto, starting with Twitter. Okay, so in case that just kind of flew over your head, you're not totally sure what I mean by that. This is a pretty big deal. So let's break down exactly what's going on with this and why this is important. So first of all, Stripe. What is Stripe? Stripe is, probably I'm not sure if it's the largest payment processor on the web, but if it's not, it's pretty close. Okay, I don't have the official data right in front of me, but basically, Stripe's huge. We've already seen, Stripe kind of dip its toes into the crypto space, but we have the next leg up here is Stripe actually having payouts for particular platforms in crypto. So with Stripe Connect, so we built. So let's just kind of dive into this. Creators, freelancers, sellers, and solopreneurs are building and creating all over the world. While it's easier than ever before to find customers and fans, getting paid can still be difficult, especially outside major markets. And this is one thing a lot of people in Western, first world countries take it for granted. They say, hey, we don't need crypto. We've already got payments. We got all this type of stuff. We got banks. But that's not necessarily always true in every single market. That's kind of what they're talking about here. So Stripe Connect is to solve this problem. Basically, the businesses around the world use Stripe Connect to programmatically send out payments to over 70 countries in local currencies. While they're continually expanding geographic coverage, many countries remain out of reach, partly due to intrinsic complexity involved in supporting heterogeneous local payment systems. Basically, the whole system's too complex, and what you can do is essentially use crypto to completely simplify this and remove the friction from moving money around. So while the store of value aspects of cryptocurrencies typically receive the most attention, we view the prospect of open access global financial rails as being at least equally compelling. So as a result, we've been exploring ways to use cryptocurrency-based platforms to unlock broader access. And so that's one of the things I've been talking about for a very long time on this channel, is that, building new financial rails is the future, and that's the one major problem that blockchain technology can solve. And that's when it's so bullish on Ethereum and other EVM-compatible chains, okay? So this particular solution is not running directly on top of Ethereum. I'll talk about that here in a minute, but let's talk about what they're doing at Twitter, okay? So basically, we're introducing payouts today for at Twitter with Connect. So basically, with crypto payouts, a select group of Twitter creators, their first partner, because they've already integrated with Twitter, so it's just kind of greenlighting this feature for Twitter users, will be able to use cryptocurrency-based rails to receive their earnings from Twitter. Okay, so piloting crypto payouts program. Okay, basically this is what they do. They can put it in there and they can connect their wallet, and they are starting support with USDC stablecoin on top of Polygon blockchain. So it looks like it's very likely to have, looks like a selector there. So this is something that you could potentially have different networks over time. I would imagine this would expand to other EVM compatible networks, other places where USDC is supported. Again, if you have you can tell it what wallet you want to. You can save your address and type of here. And so this is a big deal. All right, we've seen, and so you have to think about this on the other side of the equation, which is with Twitter as well, because of course Twitter is a huge social media giant, and we've also been looking at sort of what's going on in the news with Twitter about Elon Musk potentially buying Twitter, Jack Dorsey leaving Twitter, a lot of the stuff that Twitter's been doing to kind of move into a Web 3.0 direction already with, verifying wallets for profile picture NFTs, having crypto payments, and now we sort of have this off-ramp for people who are, earning money with Twitter actually get paid out in crypto. So we're seeing these things kind of converge from the same side. And this is a big link in the chain that sort of builds us into that next phase of Web 3.0 with a new financial system actually powered by a blockchain. And some people say, show me the adoption, show me the real world use cases outside of people speculating on crypto, people buying, JPEGs and flipping them for a profit. Well, you're looking at it right here, and you're looking at it from Stripe's own words about how they see this as a long-term benefit, and they literally explain the solution, the problem and the solution inside of here, and how crypto actually makes something better. A lot of people say, hey, how does crypto actually make anything better? Well, this is a prime example of that. At the end of the day, they're talking about this for countries where the current financial rails are not best suited, but even in developed Western countries where people can have money quickly, like crypto can still be better, faster, cheaper, and that's sort of the next logical place, in my opinion, to start implementing this. And so this is a perfect place for Stripe to start, is with this sort of long tail, maybe smaller risk stuff, with a certain set of users on Twitter, right? For certain countries. But then that's just the seed, right? That's the seed of the plant that grows and starts to take up and eat the entire financial system across the entire globe. And that can actually happen a lot faster than you might think, because crypto is the fastest adopted technology in all human history. Okay, it's moving twice as fast as the internet was in terms of adoption in the late 90s. And so when you see something else on the exponential curve, it can go, like, once Pandora's out of the box, it can go really fast, okay? Especially because people are more basically more tech savvy than they ever have been, all right? And they pick up new technology faster, and they actually adapt to change faster. Now, you might not think about your grandmother necessarily being that way, but most people who, have been around for a while adapt to new technology way faster. And so this type of thing can blow up fast. And so huge step forward in the right direction in terms of making Web 3.0 and using blockchain as a new financial rails with one of the biggest payment giants on the internet, if not the biggest one, and one of the largest social media networks on the entire web. So serving the underserved, yeah, totally. Love seeing more use of Polygon network. Isn't Twitter dead? No, Twitter's definitely not dead. So, I mean, some people think that it's like, you may not have the same hype levels like Instagram or, TikTok or something like that. But Twitter's definitely not dead. Okay, so let's look at, somebody says send some to my self-hosted anonymous wallet away from all the all-seeing eye virus. Yeah, they're probably going to track whatever wallet you withdraw to. All right, so let's look at a couple other things that popped up here. So we see this. So Binance CEO exchange. Binance CEO says exchange sees $5.8 million from the Axie hackers. Okay. So we talked about the Ronin Bridge exploit a few weeks ago. Largest DeFi hack to my knowledge that's ever happened. I think it was like $650 million, something like that. It was really big. Okay. We've seen some developments from this where the Ronin exploiters, they think they know who it is, tied to a particular North Korean hacker group, right? $600 million from the Xfinity play-to-earn game. So after the theft, U.S. regulators identified the hackers, to be the Lazarus Group, North Korean entity associated with the regime. CZ from Binance said on a Twitter post today that the exchange is able to recover $5.8 million from hackers who moved part of the stolen funds to Binance and spread it over 86 user accounts. It did not clarify who the user accounts belonged to. All right, so we'll see what this does, right? I mean, this is less than 10% of the stolen funds, but they have been recovered, okay? So that's good. And of course, that's not all the money, but, is recovering some of those funds going to be instrumental in getting the rest back? That's the real question here. So recently, security firm PeckShield reported how the hackers had laundered 7.5% of the funds through Tornado Cash. We saw that earlier. Basically, Tornado Cash is a privacy solution that lets users deposit into a tornado, a mixer, and then withdraw on the other side with zero-knowledge proofs to try to obfuscate the identity of the depositor, basically so you can link wallets without knowing who the sender came from. Let's see here. Basically, now they're shifted to converting the stolen assets, their fiat money, through centralized exchanges like Binance. So, I mean, that's one thing we repeatedly bring up whenever these exploits happen on chain is like whenever you steal a bunch of money on a blockchain, like your address instantly gets blacklisted, okay? And then there's especially if you steal a bunch of money like that, there's lots of people who are sitting there just watching you every single move that you make. All these security analysis firms are watching you like a hawk, and there's massive incentive to do it because getting that money back is a huge payday. So, basically, it's really like, what are you going to do with the money? You can try a lot of stuff, which seems like what they're trying to do is like break this up into all these strategies and risk little bits of time and seeing what works. So less like 10% of the funds went to centralized exchanges, and that's backfiring. It's like part of the funds were sent to Tornado Cash. I don't know if they tried to launder it first through Tornado and then send it to Binance. It's really hard to say, but a lot of the exploiters are running into a dead end whenever they actually get the money. It's a pretty common theme. We saw yesterday about the developer who did an exploit for $1 million and then blew himself up, or herself, who knows, inside a smart contract. So basically, they called self-destructing the smart contract, but forgot to take the tokens out before. So lots of hacks that are going south here. So new to Web3, how do I get started to learn? Definitely go to my YouTube homepage, find the pinned video there, how to become a blockchain developer in 2022. That's going to give you everything that you need to get started. So thoughts on BTC ETFs. Australia now has 2, US has 1 question mark. So I don't know the official numbers. To my knowledge, the US does not have a single spot ETF. So the difference between spot and futures ETFs is pretty significant. Okay. So we have futures ETFs. I'm not sure what the status of spot ETFs are in different countries. Okay, but the big sort of like turning point that people are talking about is like whenever US has spot ETFs actually approved. Okay, and so we do not have that. But there's a counter argument to that. Some people say it doesn't matter. Like people say we have so much access to crypto that a lot of people have the ETF. Are waiting for the ETF. If you don't know what that is, it's an exchange-traded fund. Basically, it lets you get exposure to cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin through traditional exchanges. You just trade this ticker symbol like maybe BTC, whatever. And then that gives you exposure to Bitcoins that actually open Bitcoins. Okay. So some people say the ETFs don't matter. Like, I think what a lot of people are hoping is going to happen is that the ETF for Bitcoin becomes like the ETF for gold. Okay, so if you're gold ETF release date, I can't remember what the gold release date was for the ETF, but if you look at I can't remember when the release date was. I'm trying to pull up the chart on my computer here to show you like what they're talking about, but a lot of people think that the gold ETF had a profound impact on the price of gold, and they liken that to what could happen with Bitcoin if an ETF were approved. Now, basically, if you have a Bitcoin ETF, prove that, like, boom, it's just like absolutely bullish for the Bitcoin price, and that everybody's just going to start buying Bitcoin. The couple counter arguments to that, which is like, like people can buy Bitcoin so many different ways. I mean, you can buy Grayscale Bitcoin Trust if you want to get, certain advantages through getting, exposure through traditional financial means, all that type of stuff. The other counter to that counter argument is that it's good. It's probably not going to have this massive effect that everyone thinks it's going to, because what it ultimately does is it elevates the status of Bitcoin, the asset itself, particularly around the conversation of regulations by the SEC and similar regulatory oversight. Because there's a futures ETF. I mean, it's going to be wouldn't be the SEC, right? It'd be this CFTC, right? Commodity Futures Trading Commissions. I mean, I'm not expert in all the government agencies, but that stands to reason, right? Why is React preferred over Angular widely on dApps? That's a good question. If you've ever used both, I like React over Angular. It's more intuitive. My opinion. That's just an opinion, though. At the end of the day, sometimes just using whatever's popular, the most popular, gives you a lot of benefits, because if you have a problem, there's lots of people who can help you solve that problem. If you need a library to do something, lots of times there's libraries off the shelf that will allow you to do that. Let's see here. It's not even a compiler framework, but a JavaScript compiler. Yeah, totally. Let's see here. For boomers, that's awesome. Yeah, the Bitcoin ETF. I think that's a lot of people are kind of thinking about the ETF. Let's see here. What do you think about mesh nodes for authentication protocols when IoT takes off? That's a good question. Someone says Infura is down. Let's check it out. I see a minor outage on Infura. Oh, actually, now it says Infura status is major outage. Oh, I see. That's what people were worried about, MetaMask issues. I think people were saying the Ethereum network is like broken this morning. So the Ethereum network is definitely not broken. If it's anything, it's MetaMask. That's what you understand. So basically, like, if you look at basically how MetaMask works, okay, basically MetaMask is a browser extension that talks to the Ethereum blockchain, your wallet, okay? But by default, MetaMask uses Infura underneath the hood to talk to smart contracts and talk to the blockchain, okay? And so basically, like, you could use whatever node you want to talk to the blockchain whenever you're using MetaMask, but it's using Infura, which is a node provider, as a default. So some people think that, like, what's going on right now is Ethereum being down or something like that. That's not true. You could use your own Ethereum node or a different node provider to point to the blockchain itself whenever you have a problem like this. And so similarly, we saw this before when like certain node providers were complying with sanctions related policies, okay, from different blockchain, like from different countries, basically. So we're saying like people were blaming it on certain protocol, like certain websites, right? So like whenever the sanction stuff rolled out earlier this year, you saw stuff like OpenSea. And like certain countries couldn't access OpenSea, and a lot of people think like, "Hey, like, what's going on? Like, OpenSea is censoring me." That's not really true. It was actually like what was going on underneath with the RPC connection for the node as a service, where basically that was sort of the layer where the censorship was happening or the sanction compliance. And I'm not throwing any of these providers under the bus. Like, like imagine running a massive company where you have to comply with certain laws. Like there's just certain things, but that's the beauty of decentralization is you can just switch to something else and the thing itself doesn't actually go down. You could run an Ethereum node, use somebody else's URL, and then still access the blockchain because the blockchain itself doesn't actually incur that censorship. Why such a difference in culture opinions from BTC versus ETH maxis? Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the maximalism thing is like, it depends on what you mean by maximalism, but let's just take it at face value. So basically, like, I mean, people like think that I'm like an ETH maximalist. That's not really true. I'll give my stance on this. I think that Ethereum is the most credibly neutral, decentralized smart contract platform, okay, that has the strongest chance at actually becoming the most decentralized world computer, especially as layer 2s continue to take off to get that scalability. People say the ETH's too slow, too expensive. Well, that's what the Ethereum scaling solutions are for. Move to proof of stake. It's going to be more perceived as more green, in the eyes of the world, which will make it more attractive as well. It's got a lot of major stuff going for it, okay? It's the largest developer blockchain by a large margin, okay, the largest market share of dApps, transactions, trading, all that type of stuff, right? So that's one reason I'm the strongest bet on ETH. If something came out tomorrow that was better than ETH, I would just switch to that. And like, you have to understand that's what my incentives are. My incentive is to be right, not just to like, or my incentive is to like pick the best thing, not just to be right. I mean, it's both, right? But I'll put it this way: there's no incentive to be stubborn and closed-minded. Put it that way in this space. So anyways, let's just talk about Bitcoin. This person asked me about Bitcoin maximalism versus Ethereum maximalism. So like the Bitcoin maximalism, the whole idea is that like Bitcoin's a superior chain, all this type of stuff. It's the only superior cryptocurrency. They can get fights about it. Like they don't like the fact that ETH had an ICO and had a pre-mined like early, people on the project. They don't like that ETH can change, that it can be upgraded, that Bitcoin is like this thing that's forever, never going to change. It's not really true. Like Bitcoin actually does change. It's just how it changes is different. They don't like the fact that ETH has an infinite supply. ETH actually does have an infinite supply, and that's a feature, not a bug. I've talked about that a lot on my channel. Basically, the whole idea is it has an infinite supply, but it can't just like you can't have ETH just printed willy-nilly like a fiat currency where somebody can just at whim change how much ETH is printed. Now they'll counter and say like, well, but governance could just come in and change that amount. It's like, yeah, but that's never happened because the economic incentives aren't to do that because the ETH holders don't want their ETH to be worthless, right? So there's lots of reasons why they go back and forth to fight about it. It's pretty exhausting. It's not a very productive conversation. Most people don't change their minds, just like major political issues or like worldview, religious beliefs, stuff like that. It's like most of those conversations are going to go nowhere unless the person's actually open-minded and seeking the truth rather than asserting their own opinion. So I guess not picky, each all have their purpose. Yeah, totally. I mean, I hold Bitcoin in my portfolio and ETH. I'll hold a lot more ETH than I do Bitcoin for lots of reasons, but yeah. I mean, the good news about like, develop at the end of the day, like what you want to focus on is where you spend your time, because your time's your only non-renewable resource. You can never get your time back. And so where you invest in your expertise is highly highly critical, right? You can always make more money, but you can't get time back. So that's one reason I've, been laser focused on the Ethereum ecosystem is, first of all, you get to know that and you learn Solidity, you do all this other stuff, but you can apply that to lots of other things. Any EVM compatible chain that's just like literally copied Ethereum's homework, you can take those learnings and apply them there. So you've already got a head start for Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, Phantom, whatever, Polygon. You just have to do some minor adjustments in how you think about things, to do that. Is deploying on different chains a different process. So it depends on the chain. On EVM compatible chains, it's basically the same thing. You just have to point to that network and deploy your smart contracts there. All right, so do a quick look at the crypto markets here. Kind of take a peek at what's happening. We're seeing a little bit of red on the charts today. Let's just take a look here. So Bitcoin, we're back below $40,000. Ethereum's down below $3,000. Let's take a look at a little more technical chart here. Excuse me. All right, so let's see if we can keep this green candle. This pump's been pretty weak this week. I'll be 100% honest. We'll see what happens. We'll see if we can close this week in the green. So I mean, sure, I'm not really worried long term what's going to happen with crypto prices, but I think for the sake of everyone's sanity in the short term, it'd be really nice to see this candle stay green this week rather than go red. Because basically, if we can stay green, then that means we can put in a higher low here, okay? And if we don't, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are not excited about that. So yeah, we were hopeful that we could go up and retry the 200-day moving average. Doesn't look like that's the direction that we're headed right now. Okay, so let's just see. Might be a bumpy weekend, but yeah, long term, I'm not worried. Right? I think the likelihood that we're just going into some ridiculous, ugly, long crypto winter is still pretty low in my book, but time will tell. Of course, not financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell any crypto based on that information. Do I prefer blockchain visualizer? Does this even exist yet rather than a log ledger? Users could view dynamic blockchain with Merkle trees. So you can start to look deeper into blockchain transactions. You could look at like Tenderly or Blocksy or something like that. So it says, if you ain't in crypto long-term, WTF you even doing here? I'm with you 100%. So isn't every part of the banking system rely on computers and electricity? Yeah, that's sort of the counter argument on the crypto energy usage conversation, is that the alternative is worse. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash the like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. There will be some videos out, so then more people learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you how to become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching.